Jake Morrison wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the sensor display. Something was wrong. The readings showed a ship drifting in the darkness, broadcasting a distress signal on an old emergency channel. His cargo vessel, the Horizon's Edge, had picked it up while crossing the Epsilon Corridor, a stretch of empty space between human territory and the rest of the galaxy. He should ignore it. That was the smart move. Jake had learned long ago that getting involved in other people's problems only brought trouble. He ran a simple operation, moving cargo from one place to another, keeping his head down and his crew safe. That was enough. But something about the signal bothered him. It was weak, barely there, like someone had sent it with their last bit of power. Someone was dying out there. Vic Hayes appeared in the doorway of the bridge holding a cup of coffee. He was Jake's first officer and oldest friend, a stocky man with permanent oil stains under his fingernails from working in the engine room. "Please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking," Vic said. Jake didn't answer. He adjusted their course toward the signal. "Jake, come on. We're hauling mining equipment to Colony 7. They're expecting us in 3 days. We can't afford delays, Nick, and won't take long," Jake said. "We'll check it out, call for proper rescue if needed, and be on our way." Vic sighed but didn't argue further. He knew that tone in Jake's voice. The decision was made. 20 minutes later, they found the source of the signal. It was a luxury vessel, sleek and expensive, the kind that rich aliens used to travel between star systems. But this one was a wreck. Holes punctured its hull and the metal around them looked melted. Weapon fire, Jake realized. Someone had attacked this ship. "That's a Velkrith design," said Dr. Kate Sullivan, joining them on the bridge. She was their medical officer, a thin woman with sharp eyes who had studied alien biology at university before deciding she'd rather see the galaxy than read about it. "One of the Empire's ships, expensive. Is it safe to board?" Jake asked. Kate checked her scanner. "Hull integrity is failing. Atmosphere is almost gone. If anyone's alive in there, they won't be for long." Jake made his choice quickly. "Vic, get us alongside. Kate, grab your medical kit. We're going in." They suited up and crossed through the airlock into the damaged vessel. Emergency lights flickered in the corridors, casting strange shadows. Bodies floated in the zero gravity, members of the crew killed by the attack. Jake had seen death before in his military days, but it never got easier. They moved through the ship methodically. Most of it was destroyed or depressurized. Then Kate's scanner beeped. "Life sign. Weak, but it's there. This way." She led them to a sealed panic room near the ship's center. The door was locked, but Vic had it open in under a minute. Inside, they found her. She was Velkrith, with smooth silver-blue skin that seemed to glow faintly even in the dim light. Delicate patterns traced across her face and arms. Markings that Jake remembered reading were unique to each individual, like fingerprints. She wore expensive clothing, now torn and bloodstained. She was unconscious and barely breathing. "Help me get her back to the ship," Kate said. Already moving, they carried her carefully through the wreckage and back to the Horizon's Edge. Kate got her stabilized in the medical bay while Jake and Vic returned to the bridge. Who attacks a luxury ship like that? Vic wondered aloud. Pirates don't usually destroy their prizes. They board them, take what they want. Someone who wanted everyone dead, Jake said quietly. 2 hours later, Kate called them down. The Velkrith woman was awake, though still weak. A translator device on the table hummed softly, converting her words into English. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft. "You saved my life. What happened out there?" Jake asked. She closed her eyes for a moment, and Jake saw pain cross her face. Not physical pain, something deeper. "They killed everyone. My guards, my staff, the crew. Everyone but me. Who did? People my father trusted. People in the Union government." She opened her eyes and looked at Jake. "My name is Lyria Velshara. I am the 4th daughter of Emperor Velthon, and someone very powerful wants me dead." Jake felt his stomach drop. A princess. They had rescued a princess. This was exactly the kind of trouble he had wanted to avoid. "We need to get you back to your father," Jake said. "No," Lyria said firmly. "Not yet. The people who did this have influence everywhere. If you take me directly to my father, they will kill us all before we arrive." She tried to sit up, wincing. "My father was planning to reveal corruption in the Union Council. This attack was meant to stop him, to make him afraid." Before Jake could respond, an alarm sounded on the bridge. Vic's voice came through the intercom, tense and urgent. "Jake, we've got company." 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Big ones. Jake ran to the bridge. The sensor display showed 3 Union attack cruisers, military vessels that could tear the horizon's edge apart without breaking a sweat. A communication signal came through. "Human vessel, this is Union Cruiser Righteous. We are responding to a distress call. Surrender the survivor immediately." Jake looked at the identification codes on the screen. Something felt wrong. "Vic, check those codes against the database." Vic worked quickly. "Got it. These ships are registered to the 4th Fleet. According to recent reports, the 4th Fleet is stationed 3 systems away. There's no way they got here this fast unless they were already nearby." They were waiting, Jake realized. This was a trap. They made sure no real rescue would arrive. Lyria appeared at the bridge door, holding onto the frame for support. "Those are the ships that attacked us." I recognized the transponder pattern. The communication came again, more insistent. "Human vessel, respond immediately or we will open fire." Jake made a decision. It was probably the worst decision of his life, but he made it anyway. "Vic, power up the engines." "Kate, strap in." Everyone hold on to something. "Jake, what are you doing?" Vic asked. "Something stupid," Jake said, and pushed the engines to full power. The horizon's edge shot forward. The Union cruisers, not expecting a civilian ship to run, were slow to react. Jake had seconds of advantage, and he used them. He aimed for the nearby asteroid field, a dense cluster of rocks that would be suicide for a large ship to enter. "You can't be serious," Vic said, as he realized where they were going. "I'm very serious. Those cruisers are too big to follow us in there." "We might be too big to survive in there." Jake didn't answer. He was too busy flying. The asteroids came at them fast, spinning chunks of rock the size of buildings. He dodged left, then right, then rolled the ship to slip through a narrow gap. Behind them, the Union cruisers fired, but their shots went wide, hitting asteroids instead. The chase lasted 10 minutes that felt like 10 hours. Finally, Jake found what he was looking for, a clear space in the center of the field. "Vic, the jump drive. Is it ready?" "The experimental one?" "Jake, we haven't tested it properly. It might not work. It might blow us up. Better than definitely getting blown up by those cruisers." "Do it," Vic punched in the commands. The ship shuddered as the untested drive powered up. Reality seemed to bend around them, and then they jumped, disappearing from the asteroid field and reappearing somewhere else entirely. When the ship stopped shaking, Jake checked their position. They were in unknown space, far from any marked route. The jump drive was smoking, probably dead, but they were alive and they were away from the Union cruisers. An alert appeared on his console. It was a bounty notice spreading across the Union's communication network. His face appeared on the screen, along with descriptions of his ship and crew. Wanted for kidnapping a Union dignitary. Wanted for attacking Union military vessels. Wanted dead or alive. The reward was enormous. Every bounty hunter, mercenary, and opportunist in the galaxy would be looking for them now. Jake looked at Lyria, who had watched everything in silence. "I hope you're worth all this trouble, Princess." She met his eyes, and despite everything, she smiled slightly. "I hope so too, Captain Morrison." The horizon's edge drifted in empty space while Vic worked on the dead jump drive. Jake sat in the captain's chair, staring at the star map and trying to figure out where they could go. Every major station, every colony, every trading post would have received the bounty notice by now. They needed somewhere off the grid, somewhere the Union wouldn't think to look. Princess Lyria had recovered enough to walk around the ship. She spent most of her time in the common area, learning about human culture through the ship's database. Jake found her there reading about Earth's history. "Your people fought many wars," she said without looking up. "We did," Jake admitted. "Still do sometimes, just smaller ones now. The galaxy thinks humans are violent and primitive. They're not entirely wrong," Jake said, sitting down across from her. "We've made mistakes. A lot of them." Lyria finally looked at him. "But you saved me. You risked everything for someone you didn't know. That doesn't seem primitive to me." Jake didn't know what to say to that. He changed the subject. "Tell me about this conspiracy. Who exactly wants you dead?" Lyria's expression darkened. "My father discovered that 3 members of the Union Council have been secretly selling weapons to insurgent groups. They create conflicts, then profit from both sides. When my father found proof, they tried to silence him by threatening his family. That's why they came after me. Why not just kill your father? Too obvious. An emperor dying would trigger investigations. But a daughter killed by human pirates? She shook her head. That gives them what they want. It makes my father back down, and it gives them an excuse to take action against human space. Jake felt cold. They want a war. War is profitable, Lyria said bitterly. And it keeps people afraid. Afraid people don't ask questions. Vic's voice crackled over the intercom. Jake, got a minute? Brought the jump drive back online, sort of. But we need to talk. Jake found Vic in the engine room, covered in grease and looking worried. What's wrong? The drive works, but barely. 1, maybe 2 more jumps before it dies completely. We need parts, good ones, and we need a place to install them. Vic wiped his hands on a rag. I know a place. Blackwater Station. It's in the frontier reaches outside Union territory. No laws, no regulations, no questions asked. Sounds perfect, Jake said. Also sounds dangerous. Everywhere is dangerous for us now, Vic pointed out. At least at Blackwater, the people trying to kill us won't be wearing uniforms. Jake made the call. They jumped to Blackwater Station 3 hours later, using up one of their 2 remaining jumps. The station appeared on their screens, a massive structure built from a dead mining facility. Ships of every size and type crowded around it, none of them looking legitimate. Welcome to the bottom of the galaxy, Vic muttered. They docked without incident. Jake left Kate on the ship with Lyria, who wore a hooded cloak to hide her distinctive features. He and Vic ventured into the station itself. Blackwater Station was exactly as bad as Jake expected. The corridors were dirty and poorly lit. The air smelled of oil and something Jake couldn't identify and didn't want to. Every person they passed looked like they had a criminal record, and most of them probably did. We need to find Cypher, Vic said quietly. They're an information broker. If anyone knows how to get us out of this mess, it's them. Finding Cypher wasn't hard. Everyone at Blackwater knew where to look. They were directed to a small shop in the station's lower levels, a place filled with humming servers and flickering holographic displays. A hologram appeared before them, showing a figure in a hood. The voice was distorted, impossible to identify. Jake Morrison. You're either very brave or very stupid to come here. Probably stupid, Jake admitted. I need information. Who put the bounty on me? Who's really behind this? Information isn't free, Captain. I have something valuable. Data cores from the Princess's ship. Encrypted files that the attackers didn't destroy. The hologram tilted its head. Interesting, very well. I'll tell you what you want to know. Cypher's information was worth the price. 3 names, 3 Union Council members who controlled vast military resources and had connections to organized crime. They were using the Princess's death as a pretext for expansion into human territory. If Jake returned Lyria now, these people would simply kill her again and blame him for it. You need proof, Cypher said. Solid evidence that even the Emperor can't ignore. Otherwise, this ends badly for everyone, especially you. Where do I find that proof? That's another transaction, Captain. The hologram flickered. But you should leave now. You have company. Alarms started blaring throughout the station. Jake and Vic ran back toward the docks. Through a viewport, Jake saw them. Union warships, 4 of them, surrounding the station. Someone sold us out, Vic panted as they ran. Cypher, Jake realized. They told the Union we were here. They reached the horizon's edge just as Union troops began boarding the station. Kate had the engines running. Lyria sat in the co-pilot's seat, her hood down, her face set with determination. We're trapped, Kate said. They've blocked all the main exits. Jake studied the station's layout on his screen. They're a maintenance tunnel that ran through the station's superstructure. It was meant for repair drones, not ships, but it might work. Hold on, he said, and aimed the ship at the tunnel. The horizon's edge barely fit. Metal scraped against metal as they pushed through. Behind them, Union troops fired, but the narrow space protected them. Jake flew by instinct, dodging support beams and power conduits. They emerged on the far side of the station, damaged but functional. The Union ships moved to intercept, but Vic had already plotted their escape route. One more jump, their last one. Where are we going? Lyria asked. Somewhere I swore I'd never go back to, Jake said. He entered coordinates for New Terra, a human colony that had been established in secret far from Union oversight. If anyone can help us, they can. Before they jumped, a message appeared on Jake's console. It was from Cypher. Just text, no hologram. Yes, I told them you were here. I needed you desperate enough to fight back. The galaxy needs someone stupid enough to challenge the Union's power. Coordinates attached. Find Governor Cruz at New Terra. She'll explain everything. And Captain Morrison, thank you for being exactly as stupid as I hoped. Jake didn't know whether to be angry or impressed. He decided on both. The jump drive activated for the last time. The ship shuddered, reality bent, and they disappeared from Blackwater Station. Behind them, Union forces swept through the station, arresting anyone who might have helped them. Leading the Union force was Grand Inquisitor Thalen Moore, a towering Kreth warrior with scales like black armor and eyes that glowed red in the dim light. He studied the horizon's edge's departure vector and made a note. This human is clever, he said to his second officer. He will be difficult to catch. Should we continue pursuit, Inquisitor? Thalen nodded slowly. Yes, I want to see what he does next. This Morrison interests me. He fights not for money or power, but for principle. Such people are rare. He turned to leave. Prepare my ship. We hunt. The horizon's edge arrived at New Terra with smoke pouring from the jump drive. Vic declared it officially dead. They were committed now. Whatever happened next, they would face it here. Jake looked at his crew. Kate, exhausted but steady. Vic, worried but loyal. And Lyria, a princess who had lost everything but hadn't given up. Whatever comes next, Jake said, we face it together. Agreed? They agreed. They didn't have much choice. The galaxy wanted them dead, but they were still alive. That had to count for something. New Terra's defense systems locked onto their ship. A voice came through the comm. Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. Jake took a breath and responded. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Horizon's Edge. I have Princess Lyria Velshara aboard. We need to speak with Governor Cruz. It's urgent. There was a long pause. Then hold position, Captain Morrison. The governor will see you. But if this is a trick, you won't live long enough to regret it. Understood, Jake said. He looked at Lyria. No turning back now. There never was, she replied. New Terra looked like any other colony world from orbit. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds. But as the horizon's edge descended under escort, Jake saw what made this place different. Defense satellites bristled with weapons that shouldn't exist. Defensive shields shimmered around major cities. Fighter craft patrolled in tight formations. This wasn't a simple farming colony. This was a fortress. They landed at a military complex outside the capital city. Armed guards met them at the airlock. Jake noticed they carried advanced plasma rifles, another thing humans weren't supposed to have according to Union regulations. Governor Linda Cruz met them in a secure conference room. She was a tall woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She studied Lyria carefully before speaking. Princess Lyria Velshara, she said, I've seen your picture in intelligence briefings. You're supposed to be dead. Many people wish I was, Lyria replied. Captain Morrison saved my life. And now you're both wanted criminals. Governor Cruz sat down and gestured for them to do the same. Tell me everything. From the beginning, they told her. The distress signal, the destroyed ship, the conspiracy, the chase. When they finished, Cruz sat back and rubbed her temples. This is worse than I thought, she said. 3 council members. That's not just corruption, that's a coup waiting to happen. She looked at Lyria. Your father, the Emperor. Does he know the full extent of it?
He knows some, Lyria said.
But he didn't realize how deep it went. How many people were involved. We've been tracking this conspiracy for 3 years, Cruz said. Gathering evidence, building a case. But we could never act on it. We're just one colony, barely tolerated by the Union. We had no leverage. She smiled grimly. Until now. A princess willing to testify changes everything. Jake leaned forward. What exactly is New Terra, Governor? This isn't just a colony. You have weapons and technology that the Union banned. New Terra is humanity's insurance policy, Cruz said. We're what happens when Earth decides to stop playing by rules written by people who see us as second-class citizens. We develop our own technology, train our own military, and prepare for the day when the Union decides humans aren't worth keeping around. A door opened and 2 people entered. One was a human man in expensive clothing, older and distinguished. The other was an alien, a female with purple skin and forearms wearing what looked like a military uniform. Senator Marcus Vance, Cruz said, introducing the man. He represents humanity on the Union Council, and this is Commander Zara Cathal, former Union military, now head of our defense forces. Senator Vance looked worried. I came as soon as I heard. Princess, I'm glad you're alive, but we have a serious problem. He pulled up a holographic display. The Union has declared you dead. They're saying human pirates killed you and destroyed the evidence. Your father is furious. He's authorized military action against human space. War, Jake said quietly. Yes. The first Union ships will reach human colonies in 72 hours. They're calling it a punitive expedition. Vance looked at Lyria. Your father thinks you're dead. The conspirators have convinced him that humans are responsible. If we don't stop this, thousands will die. Lyria stood up, her fists clenched. Then we contact my father. Show him I'm alive. Expose the conspiracy. It's not that simple, Commander Zara said. Her voice was deep and measured. The conspirators control the communication networks. Any message we send will be intercepted and blocked. They've thought of everything. Then what do we do? Jake asked. We can't just sit here and wait for war to start. Commander Zara walked to the holographic display and brought up a new image. A massive structure floating in space, beautiful and terrible at the same time. Nexus Prime, she said. Capital of the Galactic Union. Home to the Central Archives. The archives contain every communication sent through official Union channels, Senator Vance explained. Including the messages between the conspirators. The proof we need is there. You want us to break into the most secure facility in the galaxy, Jake said. That's insane. Yes, Zara agreed. But it's the only way. Get the proof. Take it directly to Emperor Velthon. Show him the truth before the war begins. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. You realize I'm just a cargo hauler, right? I move boxes. I'm not a spy. You were a Defense Force pilot, Governor Cruz said. Top of your class in tactical operations. You left because you didn't like taking orders, not because you weren't good at it. Jake was quiet for a moment. You've done your homework. We do our homework on everyone who comes here, Cruz said. Captain Morrison, I understand your reluctance. But you started this when you saved the princess. Now you have to finish it. Lyria put her hand on Jake's arm. I don't want you to risk your life for me again. But my father won't listen to anyone else. He trusts no one right now. The only person who can convince him is me, and I need proof that even he cannot deny. Jake looked at his crew. Vic shrugged. I'm with you, boss. Always have been. Kate nodded. Someone has to keep you idiots alive. All right, Jake said. We'll do it. But we'll need help. You'll have it, Commander Zara said. I'll assemble a team. We'll provide ships, equipment, whatever you need. Over the next 2 days, they planned the mission. It was risky, probably impossible, but it was the only chance they had. Jake studied maps of Nexus Prime until he could navigate them in his sleep. Lyria worked with Senator Vance to forge diplomatic credentials. Vic prepared the ships with the best equipment New Terra could provide. On the night before they left, Jake found Lyria on an observation deck looking at the stars. She turned when she heard him approach. Couldn't sleep? Jake asked. Too much to think about, she said. I keep wondering what my father is feeling right now. He thinks I'm dead. He's about to start a war because of me. We'll stop it, Jake said. We'll get the proof and get you home. Why did you save me? Lyria asked suddenly. You didn't know who I was. You could have left me there. Jake thought about it. Because it was the right thing to do. Someone needed help and I could give it. That's enough reason. The galaxy doesn't think much of humans, Lyria said. They see you as violent, unpredictable, dangerous. But I've watched you these past few days. You're loyal to your crew. You keep your word. You risk everything for what's right. She smiled. I think the galaxy has humans wrong. Maybe, Jake said. Or maybe we're exactly what they think, and we're just trying to be better. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Tomorrow they would risk everything. Tonight they just existed in this quiet moment. The next morning, 4 ships prepared to launch. The Horizon's Edge, freshly repaired and upgraded. 2 former Union military vessels now flying under New Terra's flag. And a small scout ship for emergency extraction. Governor Cruz gave them a final briefing. 72 hours. That's all we have. Get in, get the data, get to Emperor Velthon. If you fail, the war begins and nothing will stop it. No pressure, Vic muttered. Jake looked at his crew, at the New Terra personnel who volunteered for this mission, at Princess Lyria standing tall despite her fear. They were an unlikely group, humans and aliens working together against impossible odds. Let's go save the galaxy, Jake said. The ships launched together, leaving New Terra behind. Ahead of them lay Nexus Prime, the most defended world in existence. Behind them, a ticking clock counted down to war. Commander Zara watched them go from the control center. Senator Vance stood beside her. "Do you think they can do it?" Vance asked. "They're human," Zara said. "They'll find a way or die trying. That's what makes them dangerous." She smiled slightly, "And that's why I defected to work with them." On the horizon's edge, Jake piloted them toward their destination. Lyria sat in the co-pilot seat. Kate monitored systems, and Vic worked on contingency plans. They all knew the odds. They all knew this mission was nearly impossible, but they were going anyway. Because someone had to. Because it was right. Because humanity deserved a chance to prove itself. The stars stretched around them as they jumped toward Nexus Prime. The fate of billions hung in the balance. And somewhere in the darkness, Grand Inquisitor Thalen Moore tracked their movements, following the trail, getting closer with each passing hour. Nexus Prime was beautiful in a way that made Jake uncomfortable. Every building was perfect, every street clean, every citizen moving with purpose through the gleaming capital of the galaxy. It was a world that had never known poverty or struggle, at least not where visitors could see it. The horizon's edge stayed hidden with the rest of their small fleet in a debris field at the edge of the system. Jake, Lyria, and Kate took a captured Union shuttle to the surface, using forged credentials that Senator Vance had provided. Lyria wore diplomatic robes that hid her royal markings. Jake wore the plainclothes of a servant. Kate carried medical equipment, posing as Lyria's personal physician. The prejudice of the galaxy worked in their favor. Security officers barely glanced at Jake, assuming no human could be a threat. They focused on Lyria, checking her credentials carefully, but the forgeries were perfect. Within an hour, they were inside the Sovereign Spire, the massive tower that housed the Union government and the Central Archives. "This is too easy," Jake muttered as they walked through marble corridors. "The conspirators are arrogant," Lyria whispered back. "Oh, they declared me dead. They don't expect a dead princess to walk through their front door." "Their mistake," Kate said quietly. The Central Archives occupied the lower levels of the spire. Accessing them required biometric authorization from a council member. That's where Senator Vance came in. He was attending a session in the council chambers, and Jake needed to get close enough to copy his authorization codes. They found Vance in a public garden area where council members took breaks. Jake approached as a servant would, head down, carrying a tray. He stumbled deliberately, bumping into Vance. In that brief contact, the data chip Kate had designed did its work, copying Vance's biometric signature. "My apologies, Senator," Jake said in the humble tone expected of humans. Vance played his part perfectly, waving Jake away with annoyance. No one suspected anything. Why would they? Humans were beneath notice. Getting into the archives was harder. Security was layered and sophisticated. But Kate's technical skills proved invaluable. She hacked into maintenance systems, creating a false alert that drew guards away from their stations. Jake and Kate slipped through while Lyria created the real diversion. Lyria walked into the memorial service being held in her honor. Imagine the shock. A princess, supposedly murdered by humans, appearing alive at her own funeral. The chamber erupted in chaos. Guards rushed toward her. Officials shouted demands. In the confusion, no one noticed two humans accessing the archive terminals. Jake worked fast, using Vance's copied authorization. The data was massive, terabytes of communications. He couldn't sort through it here. He downloaded everything tagged with the conspirators' names and hoped it would be enough. "Got it," he told Kate. "Let's go." But leaving proved harder than entering. Alarms wailed throughout the spire. Automated security systems activated, sealing corridors and scanning for intruders. Jake and Kate ran, following the escape route they had memorized, but everywhere they turned, they found locked doors and armed guards. Then he arrived. Grand Inquisitor Thalen Moore stepped into the corridor ahead of them, blocking their escape. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Scales black as space, eyes burning red, weapons holstered but ready. "Captain Morrison," Thalen said. His voice was surprisingly calm. "You have led me on an interesting chase." Jake pushed Kate behind him. "Let us go. We're not your enemy. You are wanted criminals. I am sworn to bring you to justice." "Justice?" Jake pulled out a data stick, holding it up. "I have proof here. Proof that the people who sent you are traitors." They murdered a diplomatic party. They're starting a war based on lies. Thalen paused. You speak of council members. You ask me to believe a human over my superiors. I'm asking you to look at the evidence. Your species values honor, right? What honor is there in serving corrupt masters? For a long moment, Thalen didn't move. Then he extended his hand. Show me. Jake plugged the data stick into a wall terminal. Files scrolled past. Communications between the 3 council members. Plans to destabilize regions and profit from conflict. Orders to kill Princess Lyria and frame humans for it. Everything was there. Thalen read in silence. His scales darkened, a sign of emotion in his species. When he looked at Jake again, something had changed in his eyes. I serve the Union, Thalen said slowly, not those who corrupt it. Go, Captain Morrison. Complete your mission. I will delay pursuit. Why help us? Because you are right. There is no honor in serving traitors. Thalen stepped aside. But Morrison? When this is over, we will meet again. You have my respect, but you still broke laws. That debt must be paid. Fair enough, Jake said. Thank you, Inquisitor. They ran. Thalen watched them go, then turned to face the approaching security forces. The intruders went that way, he said, pointing in the wrong direction. It was a small lie, but it bought them precious minutes. Jake and Kate found Lyria being escorted by guards who thought they were helping her. Kate stunned them with a concealed weapon and they grabbed Lyria. Together, they fought their way to an emergency landing platform where Vic brought the shuttle in for a hot extraction. About time, Vic said as they scrambled aboard. This place has more guns than sense. The shuttle lifted off under fire. Defense towers tracked them, filling the sky with deadly energy. Vic flew like a man possessed, dodging and weaving through the aerial traffic of Nexus Prime. Behind them, Union fighters launched in pursuit. This is bad, Kate said. Watching the sensors, it's about to get worse, Jake said. 3 Union battle cruisers appeared on intercept courses. The same ones that had chased them before. They were trapped between the planet's defenses and the waiting fleet. Then the cavalry arrived. The Horizon's Edge and the other new Terra ships jumped in system, weapons hot. They weren't strong enough to defeat the Union forces, but they didn't need to win. They just needed to create enough chaos to escape. A running battle erupted. The new Terra ships used tactics the Union had never seen, aggressive and unpredictable. They targeted weapon systems and engines, crippling rather than destroying. It was a human way of fighting, making do with less by being smarter. Everyone, jump coordinates locked, Vic announced. Going in 3, 2, 1, the small fleet jumped together, vanishing from Nexus Prime. They left behind disabled ships and confused Union officers who couldn't understand how such a small force had escaped. They reappeared near Velkrith space, racing against time. The data was secured. Lyria was safe. But according to their chronometer, they had less than 12 hours before the Union fleet entered human territory and the war began. Contact New Terra, Jake ordered. We need to know if we're too late. The response came quickly and it wasn't good. Captain Morrison, this is Governor Cruz. The Union fleet has begun its advance. We're engaging them at the border. We can hold for maybe 6 hours, but no more. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. Jake looked at Lyria. We need to reach your father now. The Imperial fleet will be with the invasion force, Lyria said. My father leads from the front. He always has. Then that's where we go. Jake plotted a course that would bring them right into the middle of the advancing fleet. It was suicide, probably, but it was also their only chance. Kate pulled up sensor readings. Jake, there's something you need to see. At New Terra, someone else is fighting. The display showed Union ships, but they weren't attacking. They had positioned themselves between New Terra and the invasion fleet, broadcasting the evidence Jake had stolen from the archives. That's Thalen's flagship, Lyria said, recognizing the design. He's defecting. He's using his authority to spread the truth. More Union ships broke formation, their captains choosing honor over following corrupt orders. The invasion was fracturing from within, but it wasn't enough. The majority of the fleet continued forward following the commands of the conspirators. We have to end this, Jake said, one way or another. They jumped toward the Imperial fleet, toward Lyria's father, toward the final confrontation that would decide everything. The fate of 2 species, perhaps the fate of the galaxy itself, hung on what happened next. And Jake Morrison, a cargo hauler who just wanted to help someone in distress, found himself at the center of it all. I really should have ignored that distress signal, he muttered. Lyria took his hand. I'm glad you didn't, so was he. Despite everything, despite the danger and the chaos and the galaxy wanting him dead, he wouldn't change his choice. Sometimes doing the right thing was worth any price, even if that price was his life. The Imperial fleet was enormous, hundreds of warships arranged in perfect formation. At its center flew the Emperor's flagship, a vessel the size of a small city. When the Horizon's Edge and its escorts appeared, every weapon in the fleet targeted them immediately. Jake broadcast on all frequencies. Imperial Fleet, this is Captain Jake Morrison. I have Princess Lyria Velshara aboard. She's alive. Repeat, the princess is alive and needs to speak with Emperor Velthon immediately. Silence. Then a response, cold and formal. Human vessel, you are wanted for kidnapping and murder. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. They won't listen, Vic said. They think we're lying. Lyria moved to the communication station. Override this channel. Broadcast my biometric signature. They'll have to verify it. Kate worked the controls, sending out Lyria's unique biological markers. Every Velkrith Royal had them registered in the Imperial databases. It couldn't be faked. The response was faster this time and different. Impossible. The biometrics match, but Princess Lyria is dead. This is some kind of trick. Father, Lyria spoke directly into the microphone. It's me. I'm alive. The people who attacked my ship, the ones who tried to kill me, they're lying to you. They want this war. Please let me explain. Another pause, longer this time. Jake imagined the chaos on the Imperial flagship, officers scrambling to verify what seemed impossible, the Emperor torn between hope and disbelief. Finally, a new voice came through. Older, heavy with emotion. Lyria, is it really you? Yes, Father. Captain Morrison saved me. He's been protecting me. Bring them in, the Emperor ordered. Full security escort. If this is a deception, everyone involved will face judgment. If it's true, his voice broke slightly. If it's true, bring my daughter home. 20 warships surrounded the Horizon's Edge, weapons locked but not firing. They escorted Jake's ship to the flagship's docking bay. Armed guards met them at the airlock, but they weren't hostile. They were professional, careful, waiting to see if hope was justified. Emperor Velthon waited in a secured chamber. He was tall and dignified, with silver-blue skin marked by age and wisdom. When Lyria entered, his carefully maintained composure shattered. He embraced his daughter, holding her as if she might disappear. They told me you were dead, he said. They showed me evidence, wreckage, reports. I believed them. They lied, Father. About everything. Lyria stepped back. Captain Morrison, show him. Jake presented the data they had stolen from the Central Archives. The Emperor's advisors examined it, their expressions darkening as they read. Communications between 3 council members, plans to create conflicts, evidence of weapons trafficking, and finally, the orders to assassinate Princess Lyria and blame humans. The Emperor read in silence. When he finished, his hands trembled with rage. They used my grief as a weapon. They manipulated me into starting a war to serve their ambitions. Father, you must stop the invasion, Lyria said. Innocent humans are dying right now because of these lies. It's not that simple, one of the advisors said. If we stop now, we appear weak. The conspirators still control significant military forces. They could claim we fabricated this evidence. Then we make it impossible for them to deny, Jake said. Everyone turned to look at him. Broadcast everything. Send this data to every Union world, every news service, every military commander. Let the truth speak for itself. The human is right, the Emperor said. Transparency is our weapon. We expose the corruption publicly and let the galaxy judge. He turned to his communications officer. Send it everything, no restrictions. The data went out across the galaxy. Every news network received it. Every Union ship commander saw the evidence. The conspirators' crimes were laid bare for everyone to see. The effect was immediate. Public opinion turned like a switch. The 3 council members tried to deny everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Union ships began withdrawing from human space, their captains unwilling to fight for a lie. At New Terra, Governor Cruz watched the Union fleet pull back. They're retreating, she said in disbelief. Morrison actually did it. Commander Zara stood beside her. Never underestimate humans. They have a talent for impossible victories. On Nexus Prime, the 3 conspirators tried to flee but were arrested by Union security forces. Grand Inquisitor Thalen Moore personally led the operation, ensuring they faced justice. The corruption that had infected the Union's heart was being cut out. Aboard the Imperial flagship, Emperor Velthon addressed his fleet. Today we were shown a truth we did not want to see. We were manipulated, deceived, turned against innocent people. But we will make this right. I am ordering an immediate ceasefire and withdrawal from human territory. Furthermore, I propose a formal alliance with humanity. They have proven their worth not through strength but through integrity. The Emperor looked at Jake. Captain Morrison, you saved my daughter. You exposed corruption that threatened the entire Union. You prevented a war. What reward would you ask? Jake thought about it. Clear the bounties on me and my crew. Give humanity a fair chance in the Union. Real membership with real rights. And maybe fix my ship. It's taken a beating, the Emperor smiled. Done, all of it and more. You will serve as a liaison between humanity and the Velkrith Empire. Your ship will be rebuilt with the finest technology we possess, and the bounties are cancelled effective immediately. Over the following weeks, the galaxy changed. The corrupt council members faced trial and were convicted. Reforms swept through the Union government. And humanity, after 70 years of being treated as second-class citizens, finally received recognition as equals. The Union Council voted to grant humans full membership. Technology sharing agreements were established. Human colonies received the same protections as any other species. It was everything humanity had worked for since first contact. Jake found himself in an unexpected role. He became an ambassador, representing human interests in Union affairs. It was strange for someone who had spent years avoiding politics, but he discovered he was good at it. Maybe because he never forgot what it felt like to be dismissed and underestimated. Princess Lyria stayed close to Jake, serving as ambassador to humanity. They worked together, building bridges between species that had been strangers. Slowly, suspicion turned to cooperation. Humanity proved they belonged among the stars. Vic became chief engineer for a joint human-Velkrith technology program, combining the best innovations from both species. He was happy, covered in grease and designing systems that shouldn't be possible. Kate opened a xenobiology institute where humans and aliens studied together. She finally got to examine all the alien species she had dreamed about, and her research saved countless lives. Grand Inquisitor Thalen Moore received a pardon for his defection and became a liaison between Union security forces and human defense services. He and Jake developed an unlikely friendship, built on mutual respect and shared values. The Horizon's Edge was rebuilt as promised, incorporating both human and Velkrith technology. It was beautiful, powerful, and still felt like home, but it sat in a museum on New Terra most of the time, a symbol of human courage and determination. 6 months after everything ended, Jake stood on the observation deck of the new embassy station, watching Earth rotate below. Lyria joined him, as she often did. "Do you regret it?" she asked. Answering that distress signal, "Everything that came after?" Jake smiled. "Not for a second. I was just trying to help someone. I didn't expect to change the galaxy. That's what makes you special," Lyria said. "You helped because it was right, not because you expected rewards. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, the courage to do what's right even when it's hard." An alert sounded on Jake's communicator. He checked it and laughed. Another distress signal. "Ship in trouble near the frontier. Are you going to respond?" Lyria asked. "Of course. Someone needs help." Jake headed for the hangar. "Want to come?" "Always," Lyria said, following him. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity might be young, might be different, might approach problems in unusual ways, but they had something precious, an unwillingness to ignore those in need, a talent for finding solutions when others saw only problems, and the courage to stand up against injustice even when it seemed impossible to win. Jake Morrison had started as a simple cargo hauler trying to avoid trouble. He became a hero, an ambassador, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. But in his heart, he was still the same person who couldn't ignore a distress signal. And that, more than any weapon or technology, was why humanity finally had its place among the stars. 1 year after saving Princess Lyria, Jake Morrison stood in the council chambers on Nexus Prime. It was strange being here as a welcomed guest instead of a fugitive. The chamber was full. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to witness humanity's formal induction as a full Union member. Emperor Velthan himself presided over the ceremony. The charges against humanity had been dropped. The truth about the conspiracy was now taught in schools across the galaxy as a warning about corruption and the importance of questioning authority. Today marks a new chapter, the Emperor said to the assembled representatives. Humanity has proven themselves worthy not through conquest, but through courage and integrity. They exposed corruption at the highest levels and prevented a war based on lies. The Union is stronger because of them. The vote was unanimous. Humanity became the newest full member of the Galactic Union with all rights and privileges. Colonies like New Terra no longer had to hide their innovations. Human ships could travel freely. Human voices would be heard in the council. After the ceremony, Jake found himself surrounded by representatives wanting to meet the human who had changed everything. He answered their questions politely, but he kept looking for an escape. Politics still made him uncomfortable even when he was good at it. Lyria rescued him, as she often did. Captain Morrison is needed elsewhere, she told the crowd with a diplomatic smile. She guided him to a quiet balcony overlooking Nexus Prime's gleaming cityscape. Thank you, Jake said. I thought I was going to suffocate in there. You did well, Lyria said. You're a natural diplomat even if you don't like admitting it. I'd rather be flying. Jake looked at the stars visible beyond the city lights. Sometimes I miss the simple days. Just me, my crew, and a cargo run. Do you really? Lyria asked. Would you go back if you could? Jake considered it. A year ago he would have said yes without hesitation. But now? He had seen so much, done so much, met so many people. He had helped change the galaxy for the better. No, he admitted. I wouldn't go back. This matters too much. I'm glad, Lyria said softly. The galaxy needs people like you. I need people like you. Before Jake could respond, Thalen Moore joined them on the balcony. The former Inquisitor had become a friend and ally, working to reform the Union's security services. Captain Morrison, Thalen said. Or should I say Ambassador Morrison now? Jake is fine, Jake said. Titles make me uncomfortable. That is why you wear them well. Thalen looked out at the city. I wanted to thank you again. When you showed me the truth that day in the Spire, you gave me back my honor. Many of my people felt the same. We were serving corruption without knowing it. You made your own choice, Jake said. You could have arrested us anyway, followed orders. But you didn't, because you reminded me what true service means. Not blind obedience, but doing what is right even when it is difficult. Thalen placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. You have changed more than politics, Morrison. You have changed how many species view humanity. The three of them stood together in comfortable silence. A princess, a warrior, and a cargo hauler turned ambassador. It was an unlikely friendship, but it worked. Over the next few months, Jake traveled across the galaxy, visiting human colonies and alien worlds alike. Everywhere he went, people wanted to hear his story. He told it simply, without exaggeration, focusing on the team effort rather than his own actions. At New Terra, Governor Cruz showed him what humanity was building. New ships, new technologies, new partnerships with alien species. The colony had become a hub of innovation, proving what humans could achieve when given the chance. You did this, Cruz told him. You gave us the opportunity to show what we're capable of. I just answered a distress signal, Jake said. And changed everything, Cruz replied. That's the human spirit right there. We see someone who needs help and we help. We see something wrong and we fix it. That's our strength. Vic had his own success story. The technology he developed combining human and alien engineering was revolutionizing ship design. Companies across the galaxy wanted his expertise, but he stayed with Jake, working as his chief engineer and occasional voice of reason. Someone has to keep you alive, Vic said, when Jake asked why he didn't take one of the lucrative offers. You attract trouble like a magnet. Kate's Xenobiology Institute had become famous. Students from dozens of species studied there, learning from each other. She had discovered cures for diseases that had plagued certain species for generations, simply by combining knowledge from different medical traditions. This is what I dreamed of, she told Jake during one of his visits. Different species working together, sharing knowledge, making each other better. You made this possible, but not everything was peaceful. There were still people who resented humanity's rise. Some species felt threatened by human innovation. Some politicians missed the old corrupt system that had enriched them. Jake received threats regularly, though security always intercepted them. The most dangerous moment came when a group of extremists tried to assassinate Jake during a diplomatic conference. They saw him as a symbol of change they hated. But they didn't account for Jake's military training or Thalen's protective instincts. The attack failed and the conspirators were arrested. Change always faces resistance, Emperor Velthon told Jake afterward, but it comes anyway. You've proven that. 2 years after the crisis began, Jake found himself back on Earth. He visited the Defense Force Academy where he had trained, invited to speak to the new generation of pilots. They looked at him with awe, this legend who had changed the galaxy. "I'm not special," he told them. "I'm just someone who tried to help. Any of you could do what I did. The galaxy doesn't need more legends. It needs good people willing to do the right thing." After his speech, a young cadet approached him. "Sir, is it true you were going to ignore the distress signal? That you almost didn't save the princess?" Jake smiled. "Yeah, that's true. I was trying to avoid trouble. But sometimes trouble finds you anyway, and when it does, you have two choices. You can run or you can face it. I chose to face it, and became a hero," the cadet said. "I became someone who helped," Jake corrected. "That's all any of us can do. Help when we can, stand up when we must. The rest takes care of itself." Later that day, Jake walked through the city where he'd grown up. It looked different now. Alien visitors walked the streets freely. Human and alien businesses operated side by side. Children of different species played together. The change was real and visible. Lyria met him at a small park overlooking the ocean. They sat on a bench watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that existed across all their worlds. "My father wants you to visit Velkrith Prime again," Lyria said. "He's planning a memorial for those who died exposing the conspiracy." "He wants you there." "I'll come," Jake said. "We should remember them. They gave their lives for the truth." "You almost gave yours too," Lyria said quietly. "Multiple times up, but I didn't. I'm here." "We all are." Jake looked at her. "And the galaxy is better for it." Lyria took his hand. "I never thanked you properly." "For saving me, yes. But more than that, for believing the truth mattered. For fighting when it would have been easier to give up. For showing the galaxy what humanity really is." "I didn't do it alone," Jake said. "Vic, Kate, Thalen, your father, Senator Vance, Governor Cruz, everyone who stood up. That's the real story. Not one hero, but many people choosing to do what's right." "That's very human of you," Lyria said, smiling. "Sharing credit when you deserve recognition." "Maybe that's humanity's real gift," Jake said. "We work together. We lift each other up. We believe everyone deserves a chance." They sat together as the sun set, watching Earth turn from day to night. Somewhere above, alien ships and human vessels traveled together through the stars. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had earned its place within it. Jake Morrison had started this journey as a cargo hauler running from his past. He ended it as an ambassador, a symbol of human potential and someone who had genuinely made the galaxy better. But in his heart, he was still that person who couldn't ignore a distress signal, and that was exactly who the galaxy needed him to be. The adventure had ended. But the work of building a better, more unified galaxy was just beginning, and Jake Morrison, along with friends from across the stars, would be there to see it through. Because that's what humans do. They help, they persist. They never give up on doing what's right, no matter the cost. And that makes all the difference.